Well, we welcome you to another Way of Wisdom, and I am just sitting here in the sanctuary with my Bible, and I'm glad you joined me. We're going to work our way through this month, the 14th chapter of the book of Proverbs, and what we do on the Way of Wisdom is simply look at passages from the Proverbs and seek to apply God's practical wisdom to our lives. So here we go with Proverbs chapter 14, and today we're going to take verses 1 through 4. The wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands. He who walks in his uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is perverse in his ways despises him. In the mouth of a fool is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Where no oxen are, the trough is clean, but much increase comes by the strength of the ox. Well, I love that last verse, and we'll highlight that in just a few moments. But notice it talks about the foolish person is actually pulling down what has been built. And we need God's wisdom. Verse 1, the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands. We need to seek God for His wisdom so that all that we have built with our lives, we don't end up pulling it back down ourselves with our foolishness. But walking in uprightness before God. Walking in a way that we know pleases the Lord. That's verse 2. He who walks in his uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is perverse in his ways despises him. Now, this word for despise doesn't just mean an all-out vehement hatred. It means also to take lightly, to treat as common. So if you fear the Lord, if you fear the Lord, you're going to walk in uprightness. Fearing the Lord, that means we are in awe of God. We don't take Him lightly. We realize that in all that we do, we will answer to Him. He is the one to whom we must all answer to and stand before. And so if we are not walking uprightly, we are taking God lightly. If we are living in sin, if we are living in compromise, it only demonstrates that we think very little of God. But when you have a big view of God, when you realize who He is and you're in awe of Him, you want to live rightly. Now, I love verse 4 here, especially as a pastor. It says, where no oxen are, the stall or the trough is clean. But with the ox, there's much increase by the strength of the ox. In other words, he's saying when you deal with people, this is the application. When you deal with people, you're going to have to deal with messes. If you never want a mess, then don't ever deal with people. When you deal with people, there's going to be issues. There's going to be messes that have to be worked out and resolved. But there's not going to be much strength if you're not dealing with people. We need each other. We need relationships one with another. And sometimes we're tempted to avoid relationships or just live in isolation because we don't want to deal with those messes that people cause. Well, guess what? You're a people too. And you cause messes too. But when we work together, there can be much strength. So let's work through our messes and gain the strength through relationship. I'm going to close by looking at verse 4 one last time. I love the way it puts it. Where no oxen are, the stall is clean, but much increase comes by the strength of an ox. In other words, if I'm going to have a relationship with you, there from time to time will be things I have to work through. But it'll be worth it because there's going to be much strength come from our relationship. So let's not avoid relationship. Let's work through what needs to be worked through. To gain the strength that God has ordained comes only through relationships. Well, God bless you today as you live your life in the way of wisdom.
You are worthy of it all.